Hello? Hello, hello? Hi, welcome, welcome. I may look like I'm on my own today, but I am not. Ow! Every time. Have a word. Say something.
No,
Oh.
because only for today I'm being upgraded from husband to co-host. This is a great privilege.
Mm-hmm.
We also have another co-host.
Is it a baby? Ah! It's a scream! Hello, child. Look at this dirty face.
What the hell have you got around your mouth?
It's water.
That's not water.
You just shove your face in your water bowl. We have an 18-year-old who does not know how to drink. Hello, friends. Hi. Yes. My usual stream partner was not available today, and my usual backup stream partner was not available today. So I have my backup partner, who is my actual partner, whom we don't have a proper stand-in for. That wasn't something we really addressed when we made our new stream schedule, is that we don't have like a stand-in for you. Maybe I should make one.
I'm invited along for one day and you're already discussing my replacement.
What? No, I mean like a thing for you.
Oh.
You know what I mean.
Need a picture?
Yeah. Shall I use the one that I made for Colosseum and just have it in the corner? I'm not going to be animated because I don't have any programs for it.
Why not?
I could.
Blue doesn't keep photos of me because she hates to be reminded of the fact that she's involved in me.
Wow, that's
Wow.
so rude. I only keep a ring on my finger every waking moment.
Wow.
I love you.
Where's the picture kept?
I think
Which
it's
of your
in,
millions
I think
of
it's in
organised art folders is
I said I don't believe it's in an art folder. I believe it's in a video folder because it's for video editing. Assets. There they are.
Smee?
It's you. I can just drag that in there. Prepare everybody because it might be enormous. Okay, it's not that big.
Smee?
That's alright. Layering. Yeah, behind Spotify. You're gonna have me like here next to me, or do you think the other side is better? ASDF reference. Hey, you two should kiss. Well, if you insist. Mwah.
Uh,
Yeah,
uh.
you can sit above my layers box. People don't need to see how disorganised my layers are. It's fine. There we go.
I will be your organiser.
Transition. Wow. Bam! Look at that. Ta-da.
I am here. I exist.
I told you it's not reactive because I didn't plan. I give me like a couple of days. I could probably make it reactive so that it bobs up and down. I don't know.
I'd have to have my own mic for that.
That's true, actually. Yeah, we're using the same mic. So my character's mouth is going to be going absolutely crazy tonight.
Ha 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 ha!
Ow!
She has been possessed.
Stop telling me to save. I've got nothing to save. Ah!
Save yourself.
I'm trying. Ow! 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 Damn it! You might as well just save your points for the 10.
So what stuff do you normally talk about then? Because I only ever hear half of a conversation.
Half of a conversation. Well, our usual topic is going to be very run dry. Oh, thank you, sweetie. that one was a bit jittery, my goodness. Watch that back. The flowers have collision, they sometimes hit me okay. I'll save 1,000 and tell you to spam save every 2 seconds. I will put a timer on that. If it gets abused, I will put a timer on it. But our usual topic of D&D obviously is not very applicable because you don't play any D&D right now. sad.
Yeah.
But you've certainly got plenty to talk about in terms of what you're working on, because obviously nobody has any idea what you're working on. They don't have a camera, and also you've never been on the creative stream before.
It's a secret.
Well, that's not very helpful, is it?
I am learning how to do coding and working with Unity so that I can make games and hopefully not work for a living.
You could have just ended the sentence there and hopefully not work. Because that's the dream. So the goal is because I can do the arty things. You want to try doing the coding things, and by our powers combined, we might make a functioning game at some point.
That is the plan.
It's the hope. Very early days yet. It's a secret. Oh yeah, I imagine that this stream may well be on the quieter side, because I think both you and me are definitely the kind of people who sort of go quiet when they're focusing.
Oh, very much so.
Very much so. Does open it up to have a conversation with chat, though. If anybody feels like throwing topics onto the board, then that is certainly something that we can discuss. So yeah. Tonight I'm gonna be doing what Silent suggested. Is the person I've been doing the stickers for the last couple of days and streams. You may have seen. They suggested that I make like a little signature sticker to sort of go in the pack. So yeah, I'm not sure what style I might do it. I'm thinking of maybe making like a cloud kind of thing, because obviously Blue Sky Wolf, maybe making like a cloud. I'm just having Medits on it. I want to do something, but I'm not sure I should. Oh.
Ominous.
Very ominous. But probably fine. Oh no! Should we play Portal 2?
Oh,
No!
oh no!
Oh no! Maybe not. Signature sticker your glasses. Oh, you mean my goggles? Yeah, maybe. Get through these warm-ups as quickly as possible, because they're boring. So dull. So, what is it that you're currently trying to achieve on your project? Because you told me a few things that you were trying to do, and I offered my suggestions as alternate things to do.
So we have a friend who we used to go to games night with, Mr. Andy Hopwood, who makes board games for a living. He's very good at it because they're very good. He made a successful board game that he kickstarted.
Yes.
And so because I'm learning how to code, I thought I would practice at making his board game as a computer game.
Pretty tight.
Because I know how it's supposed to play out. And it's, in theory, quite easy because there's not a lot to it. But, obviously there's a few hurdles that I'm going to have to come across.
I like this new product I found called Calm Down. Whenever I get... What? Okay, fair enough.
I like this new product I found called Come Down.
Oh dear. And Nemo! Oh, whoa! Hi, Nemo! It's unusual for you to be awake at this hour if we haven't got D&D.
I haven't spoke to Nemo in ages. I just see his occasional posts in the general D&D thing.
Yeah, which is ironic because really you have a closer sleep schedule to him than the rest of us, considering that you're up at 4 a.m.
You've never seen either of us in the same room together.
Oh no.
Mm.
I'm going to nap soon. You see, that's the thing. Normally Spook would be going to bed about now.
I would be, yes. However, I have duties.
You sure do. Imagine being awake. Can't imagine. Unrealistic. You said duty. Yep. Say it in your head and think about how it sounds. Is that a VTuber Spook? It's a PNG tuber Spook if you want to be super specific. It's not reactive at the moment, it's just a representation.
You're a Grand Prix.
Would you believe it was one it literally pulled a Blue Peter. It is one I prepared earlier. I just had that lying around ready to be used. Also just doing the new dongos in FF and just fucking die. F. How are you guys today? I'm doing alright. I'd say we've had a pretty good day.
So I've broken up for my holiday. Hey.
Yeah, you sound so ecstatic. I think calling it a
30.
holiday is being generous, really.
Yeah, I'm 30 now. I don't have holidays. I just have homework.
Yeah, everybody said like, "Oh, are you looking forward?" Literally today, your parents said, "Are you on holiday now?" And I went, "What holiday?" Even though the answer was technically yes. Got stabbed for the 13th time. Yes, yes. Awesome. That means you get a free coffee, right? There's a video about that. No, I'm not saying that. I can see that one. Okay, so let's oh, this is gonna be one of those things where I can't use my font because I lost it. Crap. Okay, I guess we're gonna be toying around with getting a new font, I suppose. Got a pin for 10 times and I get a gold pin for 25 times. They don't even get they don't even get dental. Do you guys want to see the matching PNG tube of me? You guys have seen it. I stream drawing them. What am I saying? You guys have seen it before. Don't have to worry about it. Alright, I need to find some references. I was thinking just like... Go, good night. Okay, have a good night. Thank you for dropping in. It's always very much appreciated. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the restrictions of sharing literally the same desk, which is another reason, one of the reasons that we want to have separate computer rooms if we can. Which is if we were to ever do stuff like this in the future, it's very hard to get something that reacts to only one of our microphones but not the other because of how close we are. What are our topics of discussion for this evening? Well, that was partly something we discussed briefly earlier. We didn't actually know what to talk about because obviously me and Kels talk about D&D a lot, but Spook doesn't play D&D anymore, so he doesn't really have that to talk about.
I mean, did you talk to Carls at all about the new D&D stuff?
We did a little bit, yeah. It was an awkward conversation because we were both kind of paraphrasing because we'd skim read it. Obviously, the most that I had read was read to me by you while I was driving. You were reading it to me and I was discussing it. There are elements in it I liked, certainly, and a lot of things that I guess I would call a quality of life thing, like how hidden is actually a status.
Yeah.
Instead of just being a very vague thing of oh, you're stealthed or you're not stealth. It's no, it's a very clear status that does these things.
A condition.
Yeah.
Sort of like being invisible, but not invisible.
Yeah. It has actual specific rules to explain. Oh, this is where we're gonna bring up the PDF on his phone.
My phone.
His phone, Telefonica. Trying to think. I suppose bringing up my link tree would probably be a good way for me to think of what I'm going to put in here.
Well, I think the one that got the most changes from this current Unearthed Arcana would definitely be the Ranger.
Ranger had the biggest changes, but let's be real, the Ranger needed the biggest changes. Whereas when we went and listed off the rogue stuff, it was a lot of this is the same. And it's yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They were the two opposites. Ranger needed fixing, and rogue was just already really good.
Although we did find a few
slight tweaks.
I don't know if they're necessarily errors, but they're things that seem contradictory within the PDF. Because we had a look and there was under the spell preparation. What was it? You have the following spells: Cure Wounds, Guidance, Hunter's Mark, and Thorn Whip prepared. Alternately, you can prepare 2 level 0 spells when they're now called level 0 spells, but also called cantrips.
Yeah, that sounded like there were 2 people writing the same PDF.
Yeah, so I don't know whether they want to keep the word cantrip or whether they want to just switch to say it's a level 0 spell. Don't know.
I guess that kind of in a way simplifies it. If you were somebody who had never played D&D before coming up to D&D and you've got spells leveled 1 through 9 and then something called a cantrip, you might not immediately know what a cantrip is.
Yeah.
So you could argue that.
Whereabouts was it? Ah, yeah, there we go. So literally in the 2 sequential little paragraphs that explain what each thing does. The first interesting thing is that first level, you get favoured enemy as a ranger, not specifically as a hunter, as a ranger. So regardless of what range you are, you always get this favoured enemy ability.
It was more akin to the very first iteration of Ranger. You could have any.
Yeah. But they've changed what favoured enemy is. And what favoured enemy is now is that you always have the Hunter's Mark spell prepared. Doesn't count against the number of spells you own, and you don't need to concentrate on it. It always lasts for the full duration if you so wish it to. You go, okay, that's pretty good, because that basically means that first round of combat, bonus action, Hunter's Mark, so you're always doing additional damage to a target, and you can move it throughout the entirety of the fight, because it doesn't deplete when it's reached the end of it. You can just keep moving it from person to person, so you can always have a quarry that you're harrying. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
You had that little shitty cheese-eating smirk on your face, where I could tell you were doing things.
That's because it is a universally well-known fact that when artists are drawing, they make the face that they are trying to draw.
That helps, does it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Artists agree with me, right? Acknowledge.
But then, in the very next paragraph, it goes first level spellcasting, because rangers now get spellcasting at first level, not second, which is unusual because they're not a secondary spellcaster, they're a tertiary spellcaster, or they were, I should say, because they still only get spells up to 5th level.
Yeah. Well, they learn spells at what level do they get spells?
Well, first and second is now the same. So when they go from first level to second level, they don't gain any new spells.
Interesting. So that has been changed.
That's why in the old one they got spells at second level, because if you're a spellcasting class, every time you level up, you get a new spell feature. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure that's how it's always been.
Do we need to get the actual player's handbook in here and compare?
Anyway, it's irrelevant, because as long as they're getting something every time they level up, it doesn't really matter whether it's a spell or not, unless you're a full spellcaster. Like wizards and sorcerers, you have to be getting something spell related, because that's your thing. But when you get to the spellcasting, it says spell preparation. You have the following spells prepared: Cure Wounds, Guidance, Hunter's Mark, and Thorn Whip. Alternatively, you can prepare 2 0-level spells and 2 1st-level spells. But they just said in the previous statement that you always have Hunter's Mark prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you have prepared. So you're missing a spell from their little setup there, where they say, oh, you can have Cure Wounds, Guidance, Hunter's Mark, and Thorn Whip. So you're already missing a spell, because they shouldn't need. It should just have a little proviso thing of like, and Hunter's Mark, but obviously that should always be prepared. So that to me is a bit confusing. Like, well, do I get it or don't I get it? Because in the first one you said yes, and then in the second one where you've given the example of what spells I should prepare, you've said no.
Yeah.
So
if Hunter's Mark was changed from being a spell to a feature, how would people feel? That's just sneak attack.
Yeah, at that point you would just I would just say keep Hunter's Mark as a spell, but just give rangers just their own feature.
Yeah, don't hunters get something like that at the moment called Foe Slayer or something? Isn't that what current hunters have? They have Foe Slayer.
It's a Colossus Slayer.
Colossus Slayer, right?
If they attack something that I think has already been damaged, they do an extra D8.
It needs to be play tested, but I think that's how it should work. Yeah. Oh, everything in this document very clearly needs testing.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of just giving rangers, a flat out, a favoured enemy being that it's not tied to something specific. Like, I understand from a lore point of view, wanting to make a character that's very good at fighting a particular enemy, but it's not helpful to a DM if it's like, I have this idea of, a particular enemy killer, and they go, cool, that's not going to come up much in my campaign. Yep. And that's kind of annoying. Whereas you could just be a fighter and just be generally pretty good against it.
Because obviously it could vary from campaign to campaign, but if you just took the pre-writtens, for example, if you have a DM that only does pre-writtens, it's like, I'm playing a ranger, my favourite enemy is dragons. Cool. This is Storm King's Thunder. Giants. It's like, okay. And then literally you could have the opposite situation of, cool, I'm playing a ranger, my favourite enemy is giants. Cool, this is Tyranny of Dragons. It's just loads of dragons.
Or it could just be, my favourite enemy is dragons, and it's like, right, well, we're playing a low-level campaign.
How many dragons
You're not going to be fighting them because they're tough monsters. You shouldn't be going up against them just yet. You would get wiped. Even with a slight damage boost, you're not there yet. So I like the fact that it's now, essentially, you just pick an enemy and you just say, you're currently my favourite enemy. I'm currently good at fighting.
Yeah, it's basically, favourite enemy is almost even the wrong thing for it. You literally just, it should be called like Hunter's Target or something.
Yeah.
Or Hunter's Bounty. You literally designate something as your bounty for the encounter. And it's like, fuck you in particular.
Interestingly though, for the ranger, from what it was before, at second level you get your fighting style. So you actually get access to spells before you get access to a way to fight.
Yeah,
That's weird.
It's really weird that they've given them spellcasting at level 1, because that was part like the number of spells and like when you got access to spellcasting was kind of what defined it. So a primary spellcaster for the majority of classes were people who were spellcasters at level 1, whereas a secondary caster were people who got spells at level 2. So it's weird that now on this new ranger you can get spells at level 1, because that implies it's a primary spellcaster, but the number of spell slots and spells you get implies that you're a secondary spellcaster, and it's like, which is it?
But also, your fighting styles are now different. I could not recreate Alistair from Blood and Sand, like the very, very first, when Das rolled up the stats and walked me through all the different things.
I've been boxed.
I cannot be boxed.
There's flowers in my box.
No, catch you later, Das.
Quite tired, so I'm gonna head off. Hey, I told you to get some sleep. Ow, you lost blood. I told you to go to sleep.
He gave blood. He didn't lose blood. He knows exactly where it went.
His body lost it.
That means something different.
His body lost it.
If he came home and said, I lost blood.
His body lost it. His body is there, and it's just like, I could have sworn I had some blood here a second ago.
But yeah, fighting styles now. You gain one of the following fighting style feats. They're now all feats because they have now merged many class abilities into feats.
Yes.
But there are prerequisites that you can only take them if you are of a certain class. So it's kind of combining mechanics, but also just moving.
It's slightly 4th editioning, isn't it?
A little bit,
It's
yeah.
slightly 4th editioning.
But I understand it because like people understand feats when they're playing the game of it's basically a class ability not tied to a class.
Yes.
So anybody can take it, but there are a few more prerequisites.
I posted on Twitter that I got stabbed for 13th time and gave no context. People got so confused. Honestly, I would not be confused in the slightest, given the pandemic and how much I know you like to give blood. If you came up to me and said I just got stabbed, I would have been like, cool. You sure did, bud.
Interestingly, there's only 3 fighting styles that it gives that you can choose from.
Mm.
Archery, defense, and 2-weapon fighting. So there's no dueling in there, which is what I took initially, which is doing more damage with a single weapon if you're not holding a weapon in the other hand. So that does imply that it's meant to be more of a sword and shield scenario, which isn't specifically what you would think of as a ranger.
No,
They're not,
well that's why protection isn't an option in there, because protection is like the sword and shield fighting
more of a
style,
martial educated learning from a boot camp, barracks type scenario. So it's I understand it. It's not against it. It's just they are now making specific choices.
Yes.
And it does say that you can choose these even though you aren't a member of the warrior group, because now
because they've got archetype categories now, haven't they?
But as you pointed out, the warrior group consists of the barbarian, the fighter, and the monk, which means that in theory then, the monk, if fighting style is a main class feature for warriors, they should be getting a fighting style.
Yeah, that's what that implies to me.
So that would be interesting to see. Are they going to be using some of the ones from like Tasha's guide? Because Tasha's added in some really good Battlemaster fighting styles, and they improved how the Battlemaster was going to work from the fighting side of things. So are they now going to use that as the foundation for fighting styles? And does that mean that we're going to get some more for barbarians? Because barbarians before was basically take great weapon fighting style. Because
take great weapon fighting, go from there. It's like you got your one option, and if you don't pick it, then you're doing barbarian wrong.
Yeah, basically.
It's like, yes, you could take the other ones for flavour, but if you're going to be min-maxing, which, to be fair, not a lot of people do, but it's like, just great weapon fighting's so good. It's like if you're playing a ranger and it's like, right, I'm playing an actual ranger, I'm going to use a bow and arrow. It's like, cool, take sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Like you'd be daft not to.
It's too good to pass up.
Yeah, the sharpshooter's just too good.
Which is why feats do annoy me, because I don't feel like a feat should be. It's
mandatory.
Yeah, or it's so obvious that you should pick it that if you don't pick it,
it's a detriment.
It's a detriment to you almost. That to me then is like, well, it's not really a choice then, is it? It's like choosing whether my character can or cannot breathe in and out. Like, it's kind of need it. So. Aside from that, extra attack at 5th level, as is normal for this kind of character. The 7th level, they've got roving, so speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armour, so even if you do multi-class, heavy armor is not something that as a ranger you should be using. You should be more mobile, which makes sense, understandable. And you're also going to climb and swim speed that's equal to your walking speed. So your speed everywhere is the same. So that's nice. You know, that fits in with a ranger sort of gimmick, doesn't it, on how you see them, as opposed to like natural terrain doesn't impede your movements. You know, you're unaffected by difficult terrain. Rather than saying that, it's just you can swim, you can climb. You know, it's all the same to you. It's still just part of the movement. I like that. Feats are popping up quite a lot. So, oh no, that's 8th level. Sorry, so that's the normal feat choice. Level 9, as with first level, expertise. Expertise is now making its way into more classes.
Well, that's, as we said earlier about the fighting styles for the warrior classes, the expertise is the signature thing of these archetypes. Yes. They're called experts, so all 3 of them get access to it.
And it's a good mix, because you've got bards, which are full spellcasters. Their entire library is based on spellcasting. You've got rogues, which do not spellcast at all in any way, shape, or form, apart from Arcane Trickster. But for the most part,
that's a tertiary type.
Yeah, the actual rogue class doesn't. Rangers who are half-casters, but they also include the Artificer, even though it's not listed in this one. But it does say that if the Artificer is included, it would be an expert, not a mage, even though it is a full spellcaster. So it's going to be quite interesting to have all these different ways of playing the game that are all using the same sort of group that they're tied to, in that, you know, what expertise do you go for? Like, Bard could be literally anything, although there are going to be, you know, stereotypes towards going towards charisma-based things, because they should be doing charisma-based activities.
Yeah,
you know, charisma
but as the lore bard implies, it's like, well, lore bards technically know a lot of things, so you could have an int-based one.
You could, but bards are open to.
Yeah. Do rogues still have use magic device, yes, or is that older than I think?
Oh no, that's thieves specifically. Thieves, a specific type of rogue.
Yes, Domara had that ability,
which now does carry over so that it works across not class but groups. So you can use warrior, because they're now grouping them as such. So instead of it being like, this is an item for a wizard, it's now, this is an item for a mage.
Ah, okay.
That's how I think they want to do it. They want to open the magic items up.
I mean, they kind of have that already, but in some very specific ones, where there's like the Staff of the Woodland, where it says requires attunement by druid or ranger kind of thing.
Which I do get, because the way, as people get away from the stereotypes of, I'm going to play, you know, the smart, old, sickly wizard, I'm going to play the, you know, strong, dumb barbarian. As you start to branch out and start playing these classes a little less to stereotypes, you end up filling a role within the group that would be filled by a stereotype. You know, if you're the sorcerer in the group, it's like, well, we don't have a wizard, so you're basically the wizard. And then you find an item, it's like, oh, well, this is attunable by a wizard. It's like, well, for all intents and purposes, I am that wizard
basically
in this group.
The wizard.
That is my role. Shimmer was basically...
I'm the arcane person.
Yeah, Shimmer was basically our group's wizard, because he had access to, you know, the most magic, really, or the most diverse magic. Buckley obviously had access to magic, but it was divine
magic.
His job was the healer. So whether he was a cleric or a paladin, it's like, well, you've taken up the role of, you're now the healer. So even though Shimmer wouldn't have been the wizard, if we'd have found a wizard type item, this would basically say you're the mage in the group, so you get the mage item. So it's like, yeah, I can see that. That makes it easier for DMs to be like, I'm not just saying you can do this because you're super awesome special and I'm desperately trying to make you have this. Like, no, it's encompassing you now.
Yeah.
This is your job in the group. Here's the mage thing. So I like that.
Yeah,
makes it easier.
If we don't end up in the longsword situation again.
Yes.
Which is, you know, we have a party with 4 people who technically can go into melee. We find a magical longsword and we all go, no thanks, throw it in the bin.
11th level, Tireless. Now this makes use of the new exhaustion system, which is different to the old one. It's now a condition and it goes from levels 1 to 10. Although I should say it goes from levels 1 to 9.
Exhaustion was technically a condition, but it was brutal. It was still technically a condition.
I know it was listed on the condition page, but I don't know if it was actually a condition because there were levels of it. Whereas things like paralysis, it was like you either are or aren't, like grappled. Right. You're either grappled or you're not grappled. It was listed under the same area, but I don't think it specifically was a condition. So now, instead of imparting disadvantage on like ability checks or halving your movement speed or making you unconscious or whatnot. Now it's just a flat penalty represented by a number, that number being how many levels of exhaustion you have. So even though I say it's levels 1 to 10, it's actually 1 to 9, because if you reach exhaustion 10, you're dead. So,
well, that's how regular exhaustion was. It was 1 to 6, but stage 6 is death.
Stage 6 is death. So it's basically 1 to 5, because it's like after that you're dead. So, which is interesting, because I feel like 5th edition was the edition that basically moved away from 3rd edition's and 4th edition's numbers of you get pluses here, you get minuses here. They kind of wanted to move away from that, but now they're moving back towards it. But in a weird way, it does make it easier, because you don't have to try and remember.
This one is easier.
Yeah, you don't have to remember, what does 1st level exhaustion do? What does 3rd level do again? I can't remember. Where's the book? I need to know.
Yeah,
it's
I guess that
important.
you have to remember that third's problem was just the sheer amount of modifiers. So long as it's just this, it's fine, because it's the only one. Because again, it's like, yeah, you didn't have any modifiers to remember, but you still basically had to have a list open. If your DM was like, you've got 2 levels of exhaustion, everybody immediately goes, well, what the heck's that? Because you don't generally have it memorized hugely.
I do hope that there are more things that will grant exhaustion, because to go from 1 to 9 and it's going to be recoverable on a long rest, to me it feels like there needs to be something that makes it more usable. If you're only potentially like, oh, you've gone for a long journey for day, for hours and hours and hours, everyone make a con check, and it's like, okay, I failed my con check, cool, you get a level of exhaustion. It's like, so what? We're going to go for the next words out of your mouth are going to be, so you rest up for the night so that tomorrow we can do the thing in the wherever we are. So it's like, it's basically pointless. So I hope there are like monster abilities.
Well, that's the thing, in terms, because it's lessened, it means it does give it a chance to come up, because that's the thing, is that because exhaustion in 5e is kind of so bad, because it's like, well, you get disadvantage on everything, which means you'll probably fail your next save. Literally the first thing people tend to do is go, cool, we've got exhaustion, we need to have a rest to get rid of that.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
the first
too
thing
bad to keep.
Is people tend to try to get rid of it immediately, whereas now that it's divided into levels and it's like, I've got a -1, it's like, we could deal with a -1. We've got a bard who can give you inspiration or whatever. You've got a paladin who's got, an aura that can give you a +3. We can live with a +1. Let's keep going. And then it's like, well, now I've got a +2, and it's like, we can still live with that. A +2 isn't too bad.
Yeah. So I hope it's one of them of maybe that even there's a limit to how much exhaustion you can recover from a long rest. It's exhaustion. It's like your body is crying out to say, I need several days of sleep. You can't just have one sleep and go, I feel as fit as a fiddle, like maybe it's recovering so many. I don't know. Something that we'll have to find out when more information about this comes out. 13th level, Nature's Veil. As a bonus action, you can expend a spell slot and become invisible until the end of your next turn. Now, I like and dislike that. Makes sense for a ranger to be able to get some form of camouflage, even though it's, stealth is, yes, a rogue thing, but it is also a range thing, but they're getting it at a higher level. 13th level, that's a considerable way into a campaign. The issue I've got with it is that it just says a spell slot, so it doesn't specify a level, and it just says until the end of your next turn. So, does that mean that making attacks and doing things does or doesn't break it? Doesn't specify. If I expend a higher level spell slot, I feel like I should get a longer time than if I expend a shorter spell slot. Technically speaking, based on their new wording, 0 level is a level spell slot.
It is a level.
That's
level
a
0.
Technicality that they should definitely clarify, because otherwise you've got free invisibility every turn as a bonus action. Obviously I know that that's not going to be the case, and they're going to say no, it has to be first or above. But it's something that they should clarify.
Yeah, that's what This is what D&D is about. It is nitpicking your words. The amount of times in games where you, me, someone passes, Stanji has flicked over the player's handbook and gone, well, technically,
it doesn't say this.
It says based on the wording here.
So that is part of what the playtest's for. So What have we got next? Feral Senses. They've now given the blind sight ability to the ranger as opposed to the rogue, which again can kind of
makes sense
because it's a feral magical kind of thing.
It kind of makes sense. I feel like it's one of the. I guess it's one of those weird things where it's like if somebody is a rogue in the archetype of someone sneaking around in dark places where they shouldn't be, you think that they would have a sense for where they are. And I don't know if that's a carryover from the fact that like basically everybody has dark vision now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there could be certain. Maybe if it's a feat, maybe if they make it a feat of being able to get it, so then as a rogue you could then take it at a particular level with some prerequisite. I don't know. It's one of them of like, yes, rogues are very good at moving through dark places, so it would be advantageous for them if they were aware of other people in dark places. But realistically, if you think about a rogue in that sense, they shouldn't have blind sense because the people that they are hunting are in well-lit areas trying to avoid being snuck up by, so you can kind of take it both ways. Whereas, I can see it from the ranger, giving it to the ranger because...
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense for the ranger.
But you give it to the ranger because there is definitely a magical element to it, and because they are part of the primal spell tree, which is the new wording for druids and rangers magic. It's like, yeah, you can see that it kind of bleeds into the character. They're, as they take in and understand this magical power that they've got, they are able to, like a lot of animals, they have improved vision in some way. So I can see that, and it makes sense. And 15th level is a high enough level. The weird thing is that I don't know how useful blind sight actually is. It does say this is a blind sight out to 30 feet, but I don't know many situations where blind sight is. It's very situational.
Oh, highly.
As cool as it sounds, it's not like, true sight where it's like, okay, you can see invisible people. Blind sight does give you vision on invisible people.
If that's was here, they'd probably be able to remind me, but I am trying to think, I think Dalmara did have access to blind sight. She did get to that level. I don't remember if it ever had a use in the sand. I don't remember if it ever got to a point where I was like, it's fine, I've got blind sense, because I had dark vision.
So it's just one of them of like, it's a very cool ability, it's a very, fantastical, imaginative ability, but how many times is it actually going to get used because of dark vision? It's one of those things
where it's like one of those things, it's basically the sort of like, you're a melee person who can sense invisible things, and it's like, at that level, if you're fighting something that can go invisible, it's probably a spellcaster, so they're probably not in melee with you.
I think this blind sight would be more useful if the ruling for facing and flanking were mandatory. So if blind sense worked, so like if someone's behind you and they got some advantage from attacking you from behind your blind spot and this negated it, that would make it much more useful. The idea being of like, you're aware of everything that's around you.
What's the definition of the new hidden condition then? Can blind sense override being hidden?
That's a very good point. Let's have a look.
Since hidden is now defined.
Where is hidden? Weirdly enough, it's hidden from. No, these are the feat descriptions. There we go. Hidden condition. While you are hidden, you experience the following effects. Concealed, you aren't affected by any effect that requires its target to be seen. Surprise, if you are hidden when you roll initiative, you have advantage on that roll. Attacks affected, attack rolls against you have disadvantage and your attack rolls have advantage. Ending the condition. The condition ends on you immediately after any of the following occurrences. You make a sound louder than a whisper. An enemy finds you. You make an attack roll. You cast a spell with a verbal component, or you aren't heavily obscured or behind any cover.
An enemy finds you is actually super vague. If you have, I would argue that blind sense could override that as an enemy finds you. If you have blind sense, then you sense somebody near you. That's really vague. That would be like, DM, what's the ruling?
Hang on a sec, where's... Nah, you wouldn't be able to see someone behind you. It's blind sight.
Oh, it's blind sight. Okay.
Specifically blind sight. You have to be looking in their direction. So, again, in my example, that wouldn't work because they're behind you. But that's why I would say something like blind sense would make more sense. Unless you say blind sight for a ranger, give them a larger range, and then for someone like a monk, give them blind sense. So it's like the whole point of a monk is that they can fight against multiple people, and someone come up behind them and they block attacks that they can't see. That's very, very thematic, isn't it?
Yeah. So it is specifically blind sight.
Blind sight that they get.
That's interesting because I think the rogues one.
It's
blind sense because I remember that was the one thing. In my head, I thought of the one thing which was if there was a case of like you need to keep your eyes shut for some reason, like a basilisk or something. It's like, well, I can keep my eyes shut, but blind sense means I can still see. Blind sense is, I believe, technically based on hearing.
Yes, if you can't, it's one of them of like if you can't see, you should be able to hear.
Yeah, blind sense at 14th level. If you're able to hear, you're aware of the location of any hidden or invisible creature within 10 feet of you. Basically, you can hear them breathing / walking, is what that is.
Weirdly enough, though, rogues don't get that anymore. 14th level is a subclass feature.
Interesting.
So they've moved around because obviously now level 20.
Level 20. Level 20 is a feat now, isn't it?
Yes, an epic boon. So which is a specific type of feat. It's an epic feat, basically. Don't know why they call it epic boon, not an epic feat, but whatever. Stroke of Luck is now level 18 as opposed to before where it was level 20.
That's fair. Stroke of Luck was fine.
So yeah, big changes, but also some clarifications needed. Oh, an 18th level, the Foe Slayer now for the Hunters is Hunter's Mark now does an extra D10 rather than an extra D6. So, in comparisons again to like the Rogue Stroke of Luck, if you fail a D20 test, you can turn the roll into a 20. Once you've used this feature, you can't use it again until you've had a short or long rest. And then I suppose for the Hunter, it's like you now deal between 1 and 10 as opposed to 1 or 6 on every attack. It's now within line, I can kind of see that. Oh yes, and the other one, 11th and 12th level, Rangers gain access to 3rd level spells, and they gain access to Revivify now.
I know, right? That's a tight one.
Which is a very odd one. I think that all comes down again to how people view Rangers.
Yeah, I think that's to do with the sort of like sustainability. Like that's the kind of vibe that at least I get from Rangers, is that they are very self-sufficient.
But Revivify doesn't help you in a self-sufficient situation. If you're in the situation where you need to use Revive on yourself, you can't use Revive. Cure Wounds, definitely. Protection from poison, stuff like that. Restoration, even to a degree, lesser and greater restoration, those are all things you can use on yourself. Revivify is specifically something you use to heal other people, so I don't know if I would give it to every ranger. I wouldn't say rangers can't learn it, I just wouldn't say it would be a default spell. I wouldn't make it a, this is something that all rangers can get. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, I would be someone who would class a ranger as more of a martial class than a magical, so I would say that they should get fighting style before spellcasting.
Yeah.
If they get spellcasting at all, but that's a topic for another day.
That's your own personal
That's
thing.
my own personal thing. I don't think all rangers necessarily should be magical, but I think all rangers could be magical.
Yeah, whereas obviously in 5e they seem to very much be on they are a half and half.
Yeah, they are a half and half, so that is what we're stuck with. But that's the decision that they've gone with, so I'd be interested to see how it does play out. Also, they need a spellcasting focus. Now, I don't know about that one because spellcasting focus is kind of something that people don't really use.
Yeah, people tend to ignore that.
But it's weird that they've got a class that can use shields, can use weapons, is encouraged to use weapons that some of two-handed, like bows and stuff, but also require a spellcasting focus, which you would presume is in their hand when they cast the spell.
If you're taking the rules as it takes, then yeah, I mean, could you have a spellcasting focus as a necklace? What are the ruling? What's the ruling for spellcasting focuses?
Nothing that's been specified in here. That is something just from core D&D, but I believe when I read through that, it did say that is something that you take it in hand and you cast the spell using that as your focus. So.
Spellcasting.
Don't remember them having.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Optional. There you go. Spellcasting focus optional at second level.
You can use a druidic focus as a spellcasting focus. A druidic focus might be a sprig of mistletoe, or holly, or a wand or rod made of yew, or other types of wood. A staff drawn from a tree, or an object incorporating feathers, fur, and bones and teeth from sacred animals. 5e spell casting focus.
It's an item that is held by one spellcaster directly, yeah, so.
Arcane Focus is a special item designed to channel power by arcane spells. A sorcerer, wizard, or warlock can use such an item as a spellcasting focus as described in the spellcasting section. Casting some spells requires particular objects specified in parentheses, and the component entry. A character can use a component pouch or spellcasting focus in place of the component specified for a spell. If the cost is indicated for a component, a character must have the specific item. Spellcaster must have a hand free to access a spell's material components or to hold a spellcasting focus. So there you go. So, technically, by the rules of 5e, yes. Everybody ignores that, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've had some more chats when you've been looking.
You keep saying the description is vague, that's the point. It's written vaguely for a DM to observe and make a ruling on, plus it's playtest material to gather information on how players interpret said ruling. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, but if it's a core rule, it can't be vague, because then from DM to DM, if there's questionability about a core rule, that's going to cause a bit of animosity. Like if death saving throws is a core mechanic, but if it was left up to vague of make a death saving throw, if you succeed, this happens, if you fail, this happens, and there's no other wording, you'd be like, well, what is a success? What's a failure? Some DMs might say 15 or above, some DMs might say 5 or above. Like, the reason that you need a core ruling like that of how does spellcasting work is because you need a foundation to build more vague and optional things on top of.
Yeah, I guess it's the thing of like one of the reasons we like 5e is that we have very simple base rules to go off of so that we can then change and break them.
Yes.
But you need that foundation to start with.
Yeah, you need it to be there initially so that it's like, this is how the game is designed to be played, but then if you wish to change it, you can do, and then just make sure that your players are aware of it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Guess at the design decision here, it's taking the GW approach of having every class able to take on any role and allowing for greater variety in character archetypes and styles of play, not established D&D roles. Yeah. It's literally going against that, though, because they're literally splitting the classes into archetypes.
They're splitting them into roles of like warriors and mages and stuff, but that doesn't specify what their roles necessarily is in the group. You know, if you're a mage, what does that mean? You know, it just means that you are the magical person, but you could be like the mage who has healing spells. You could be a mage that does buffing spells or damaging spells or illusion spells. You know, you're a warrior, you could be the person who's the tank who takes damage, the person who deals damage, someone who specializes in crits. It doesn't specify what you do, it just describes what you are. But yeah, I like the idea of, because you're playing a barbarian, it doesn't mean I'm the guy who gets hit.
Yeah.
You can separate from that, and you can just be like, I'm a warrior, I'm a martial class. So I have fighting styles, and I have armor, and my abilities are all around my physicality more than magic. But that doesn't specify this is how you should play. So yeah, I do like that, because that, again, 5th edition's done a lot to try and make it so that open it up, play different race and class combinations. It's fun.
You're working on the sticky. Yeah, I'm working on the suggestion that you made of a little signature thing. It's not core rules playtest material. As you just said, it's based on DM interpretation, which is the point of D&D, collaborative interpretation of all the players involved, not just the DM. Oh yeah, it's fine so long as everybody agrees. Yeah. It's just that you need a base to go off of, because if you're just going to sit and decide on rules as a group, then you don't need to be playing 5e. Why do we have this rule book? We might as well throw it out.
Yeah.
You need to have something to start from.
Yeah, the idea was how do they want spellcasting focus to work? That was more the question. Like, not just from this playtest, but how do they want spellcasting focus to work? Because for like druids and wizards and stuff, they don't need to wield weapons. So the idea that they carry their wands and their staffs and stuff is fine. But when you start introducing melee classes like paladins and stuff, it gets a little bit more tricky, because it's like, well, now you need a free hand. It's like, well, can I hold a shield and a sword? And then if I'm not attacking on my turn, am I still allowed to use my spellcasting focus? Because, you know, all right, I'm holding both of them, but, you know, surely I can grab like a holy symbol a
I guess that's why they don't have like a sword and shield build, because they want you to have a weapon in one hand and you focus in the other.
They don't have a specialised fighting style for it, but you can, as a ranger, still use a shield. It's still allowed. So you could take a short sword and a shield as your starting equipment. That's my, you know, that's all. I know that when people play the game, they're going to be like, no one cares if you just casting a spell. That's fine, but you know, when they're on the design team, they've obviously said, right, spellcasting focus, this is something that's important enough that we need to write down and we need to flesh out, and it's mentioned in every single spellcasting character. So it's something they feel that is important to the game and should be obeyed to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a little bit of like, well, how is this working? Because, you know, then if you start introducing the disarming abilities of, you know, you can disarm a character of an item, well, now it's important if your character is disarmed of their spellcasting focus. So it's like, well, where is it about your person that you're using it from? Or you're using your bow and arrow, so it's not in your hand, because otherwise you'd be, you know, trying to fumble without an arrows, and it's like, it's getting a little bit.
Which is why a lot of people don't
bother with them.
Because we're taking the spellcasting focus example. That's not even been changed in addition.
No.
So we're essentially talking about spellcasting focus just in 5e.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about playtest material. We're just talking about spellcasting focuses are a thing that have been in the rules since day one, and almost, again, generalization, almost everyone ignores it.
Yeah, because it's just one of them rules that's just and that this is the thing. It's too annoying to get my head around why it works, so we don't bother. So I feel like they should address that. You know, that to me seems like something that should be. If you've made a rule and people look at it and go, it's annoying, I don't bother with it, then it's like, well, if it's so important that we're going to keep bringing it up, maybe we should address that. Maybe we should make it not annoying. Maybe we should make it make sense, you know, unanimously. So then people can look at it and go, okay, I understand it, and then choose whether to go with it or to not go. Because to me, for someone like a ranger, if they're using weapons, don't give them the need for spellcasting focus.
Which playtest are we looking through? What's the date on it? Is it the most recent one?
It's
they haven't released a new one, have they?
It's simply referred to as expert classes, but it is now this one D&D.
Yeah, it's an Unearthed Arcana for one D&D, because they're not making a 5.5, because, as we all know, following numbers is a pain.
Can your hunter pet be a spellcasting focus?
Touch dog on a cast spell. I cast pet! Spellcasting focus, again, DM player interpretation of focus can be tied to a staff owner's pendant. Yeah, it says that in the description.
Yeah. But can you stretch that far?
I like the idea that a spellcasting focus can be whatever you want, but a spellcasting focus, which in the book has been relegated, it is meant to be something that you mechanically require. Spellcasting focuses have just been relegated to flavor text.
Yeah.
My spellcasting focus is this, but it's not like if someone took it away, I suddenly couldn't cast my spells, because DMs just don't use that rule.
Yeah, because then essentially you're tying your class abilities to one physical item. As soon as you lose that physical item, you now can't do anything. You know, how far can you stretch arcane focus? You know, oh, it can be a staff. Can it be a bow? That's a lump of wood.
Yeah.
It can have things carved in it, and if you go, yeah, okay, that can be it. So I only need to have my bow in my hand. So if I lose my bow, now I've lost both my ability to fight you and cast spells. Now you're putting eggs into a physical basket again.
Yeah, suddenly it's like, you have found a magical +3 bow, and it's like, well, I want to use that, but my regular +1 bow is my spellcasting focus. So it's like, well, if I tune to the new bow, I can't cast spells.
Unless the DM allows me to change my focus. And it's like, this is what I mean of like, when we all play together, we all, you know, we understand how the rules are supposed to be interpreted.
Yeah.
And so we're fine with each other. But a lot of people don't play with the same group of people. They move from group to group. And if you have rules like this that are clearly important because they've been reiterated through, you know, all these iterations of 5th edition, and they're not this clear, you might come across a DM who interprets them in an unfun way.
Yeah, we're just talking.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because again, in our experience, we play with a group of players that are very open to just, you know, adapting, having fun. That's all that matters to us. If you go to Adventurer League, officially run D&D stuff, they will sit there and go, you have to do this by the book. And that's one of those things where it's like, well, what does the book actually say?
Yeah, us lot playing together, we don't mind as much.
Yeah, we don't care.
But when you're putting this out there as this is a design document, you really do need to dot the I's and cross the T's. That's kind of the point of it, of like, you know, find all of the flaws with this so that we can make it better.
Yeah.
If it's something just as a case of this doesn't do enough damage, that's an easy fix. You can raise some numbers, not a problem. But if it's a question of like we've pitched this to several people and we've got several different answers, so when people don't understand how this rule works,
you need to change the rule.
You need to change the rule. You need to clarify.
I painted the god's holy symbol on my middle fingernail. It is my holy symbol casting focus.
There you go.
It's how loose are you going to interpret it? Yeah.
If it's a tattoo's a really cool spell focus. I love the sound of it.
Hell yeah.
But is it allowed? Because it's important. If I don't have my spell focus, I can't cast spells.
And again, if we're in our friend group, in a friend group who basically doesn't care about what's written in the rulebook, we probably would have a DM go, yeah, of course you can have a tattoo of your spell focus. And then it will never come up again because we don't use the spell casting focus rules. Because
it's like, I understand the point of it. You watch things like Harry Potter and the use of their wands is very important. You play games like Final Fantasy and finding a new, magical rod or a scepter or a staff for your character that you can give them that improves the power of their spells. It's all very good. But in D&D, there's nothing that really links it outside of like Wand of the War Mage or very specific magic items. But the thing from that magic item isn't that it becomes a better spellcasting focus for you. It's that it comes with cool shit.
Yeah.
And it's the cool shit that you want. There's no sort of like, if you've got a wand, then all of your magic spells get a +1. But if you lose your wand, you don't get that +1. So then it's like an important thing of like, I draw my wand in the same way that you would say, I draw my sword. Otherwise, if a fighter's in town, it's like this guy pisses you off and you're like, I attack him. And it's like, okay, well, you punch him. No, I stab him. You didn't say you went for your sword because he would have done something if you'd gone for your sword. Whereas a wizard or whatnot can be like, can I subtly cast this? And it's like, the DM never goes, okay, well, did you draw your wand? It's like, what? No, I cast the spell. My wand, fuck's got my wand.
We're always like, make a sleight of hand check because we're immediately like, well, you make a hand gesture.
You make a hand gesture.
Like, well,
no one ever says about.
It's like technically, no, you would. Yeah, again, rules as written, you wouldn't have made a hand gesture. You'd have made a hand gesture and pulled out your wand.
Yeah, but no one ever talks about drawing the spell folk. It's like with the component patch. Like they put all this effort into making different spell components, which I think are really cool. Go out and find these cool items with which you cast your spells with them. And then it's like, and we'll just give you a component patch so you don't have to
so you can ignore it. Yeah, we spent all this time making sure every single spell in the book has a component, and then we add in a rule so you can ignore it.
So you can ignore it. It's like, but that would be cool. I love that idea of, having to have, maybe don't have it as restrictive as, one item allows you to cast it, but, a range of items that allow you to do it, like for casting fire, it could be like a piece of charcoal or some sort of kindling or, some small amount of gas in a bottle or whatever, or something that just represents fire, like, part of a flame elemental or a bit of a phoenix or, something like that. That you could leave up to loosey-goosey stuff of like, talk to your DM and, whatnot about these things, but these are part of your starting equipment or something, because they're not used when you cast through them.
And literally we read out loud. Yeah. We read out loud about half an hour ago. It's only if it says it's consumed.
Yes.
And that then overrides the component pouch. Yes. If it's consumed, you have to have it. You can't override it.
Yeah, because there's obviously some, it's a more powerful or more world-changing spell. Usually like Revivify stuff, like you need a diamond or something. You can't just be like, well, I've got the leaf of this tree that's said to bring people back. Like, yeah, that's nice, but sacrificing the leaf don't mean shit in this world. Diamonds, bitch. Yeah. You want your friend back, you got to pay for it. Basically, there is a toll.
Yeah.
But
again, every single thing we say is as rules as written, because I know as someone who literally was in a D&D session where we brought somebody back by doing a more sort of ritual where people did a bunch of rolls. It's like, yes, you don't need to, but it's like, again, we're talking rules as written.
Yeah, rules as written, because that's the important thing when you make anything new for design, is the rules as written has to be good and then allow people to make changes afterwards. Yes.
Hello, child! I realised I can make Combustion Man. That rings a bell, but I can't immediately think who Combustion Man is.
Someone from My Hero Academia.
Is it? Where's it? That guy from Avatar? Sparky Boom Boom Man.
I don't know.
Avatar. I was right. Sparky Boom Boom Man. Woo! Playtesting material. Playtest material is not Adventures League for the reasons of debate. Would you prefer a strict no fun allowed to the book interpretation of the rules, whereby you are required to carry a heavy diamond with you, which gives you the risk of being encumbered, just in case a character dies? We'll do that anyway. or would you prefer a general interpretation that allows you to write fun collaborative stories that has major risks and amazing highs? This is what we keep saying, is it's a generalisation. That is how we play, and it's how we like to play. We're just looking at this subjectively. Back hold. God damn it, Cole.
Also, the other thing is that it wouldn't be a heavy diamond that you'd have to carry around. The diamond's worth, like, I mean, you know, you look at diamonds worth on rings nowadays, and they can cost you something like $3,000, and it's the size of your, like, little fingernail.
Yeah,
If you had a diamond that was so heavy enough that you would be encumbered by it, that thing would be worth, well, an untold amount.
Yeah, it almost wouldn't be worth using it on a Revivify spell.
Well, yeah, you just couldn't use it because it's like, well, how much is that diamond worth? Well, it's worth. It's more a trophy than anything because it's that big.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a technicality.
It's like saying, how much is this gold coin worth? Well, it's worth one gold coin. Well, I have a golden nugget that is the size of a human head. Which, like, well, that's unique. That doesn't have its value specifically in gold. It's unique in that it's worth more than the sum of its parts, basically. I also wanted to talk about this new trend that was kind of picking up momentum for a bit. I don't know how current it is because I've not really been keeping my ears to the ground on current affairs, all things D&D and homebrew and changes to the rules.
Yeah, it's not very relevant to you these days because you don't play.
No, but that, you know, this one D&D thing obviously did stand out to me because there was the announcement, maybe end of last year, start of this year or something, where they were talking about potentially 5.5, and this looked like some kind of continuation heading towards 5.5. A lot of which I do like.
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking through that one D&D document. I mean, the name's a bit naff.
Yeah, the name's a bit
naff, but the actual content of it, I like the direction they're going with. A lot of the clarifications that they have made are really helpful. A lot of the changes to like conditions and stuff, like turning the spell lists. Spell lists are now not class specific, but they're not even the group specific. You know, they've split them into arcane, divine, and primal, which I like.
Yeah.
When I was doing my own homebrew, I was looking at doing a similar kind of thing of like categorizing magic. Love all of that stuff. That makes it a lot more, you know, easy for people who are playing, you know, an arcane class to be like, well, you either play a wizard because you get all the spells, you play a warlock because you get the cool spells, or you play a sorcerer because you can change spells, and that's kind of it.
I feel a lot of the rules are meant to be purposely vague in order to allow for either harder or softer core play.
Again,
I suppose there is that.
Again, it's not that... I'd rather they have rules written down specifically because everybody knows you can change a rule.
Yes.
But when you don't have a foundation for something that is, you know, what they are... What I can only assume must be some sort of core rule because they keep writing it. Because you don't have a black and white, this is how we intend for it to work. If you disagree, change it. It's hard to say because one person could say, well, this is how it's meant to be because that's the only way that makes logical sense to me. And then someone else could say, well, no, I think it makes sense like this because of my logic.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that it's easier to change something that is already existing rather than trying to make something from scratch. It's not that we want solid rules to follow. It's that it's literally we want solid rules to break.
To change.
Yeah, we want solid rules to break because if you have a rule and you don't like it, then you just have to go, I don't like it. We won't use that. Rather than sitting there and it's like, well, there is no rule, so it's like, now I have to spend 10 minutes thinking of what to do because I don't have anything to go off on. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Or I have to sit here and I have to justify to my DM why I think my ruling should work, either in this situation or in general, you know. It's like if you were to change it from, say, spellcasting focus, which we're not so fussed about, but what if you were to change it to something like attack rolls, or armor class, or, you know, magical resistance? You know, the more... these are things that come up a little bit more often, and if you make those more vague and say, well, it's just, you know, the fun of the game is it's down to interpretation of like, yeah, but if I have to justify every single thing I do in the game it's going to be less fun because I have to spend more time explaining myself rather than just playing the game.
First rule of the book is the DM can change anything they want. Exactly. That's exactly it. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's the keyword there is change. In order to change something, there has to be something to change.
Yeah, if I'm
that's what we're saying.
We're all interpreting it potentially different.
Yeah. In order to interpret something, there needs to be something to interpret.
You know, like if it said, you know, you cast Hunter's Mark and it does additional damage, and there was nothing that said that, someone might say, okay, well, additional damage to me probably means that I can add my dexterity modifier again because I'm making the ranged attack. Okay, well, that makes logical sense. Someone else might say, well, no, it says additional damage. Well, the bow I'm using is a D10, so that means I get to do an additional D10 of damage. And you go, okay, well, that makes logical sense as well. And someone else could say, well, what's the hit die of the monster? Because if it's doing additional damage, then that would be like percentage of their health. So they should roll one of their hit die, and that should count as the damage for them. And you can go,
they're all valid.
That makes sense as well.
They're all valid.
That makes sense. The reason why you say, look, Hunter's Mark's a D6. If a DM looks at that and goes, okay, I feel like Hunters should be a little more powerful than that, so I'm going to say it's not a D6. I'm going to say it's a D10, or I'm going to say it's 2D4, or I'm going to say, we're going to scrap that. If you use Hunter's Mark, it now just does a flat damage. That's okay for them to change, but at least when you go into the game, you already think, well, this is how it works. The book will back me up, and it says, no, I get to do a D6 damage. It says it right there. So if you're changing it now, is that the new ruling? As opposed to, well, this is how we interpret it this time, and then when we play, you know, again over the course of several weeks, and then 7 months down the line, when this issue comes up again, and we're all obviously a lot stronger, and you're feeling a little differently about this ruling that you made that we've kind of forgotten, and I'm like, oh, I think I know how this works, because I'm pretty sure I remember it worked like this last time, didn't it? Wasn't it? 7 months ago, a lot's happened since then. And then it changes because people's interpretation of that rule has changed. It can be frustrating, you know. You want something in black and white that says this is how it works. If you want to change it, that's fine, but I need to know going into it, how does it work? I want to know how a wizard works before I choose to play a wizard. If I choose to play a wizard and then partway through you go, I think wizards shouldn't work like that. Well, I didn't know that to begin with. I mean, I didn't cite.
It's literally the same as if you were playing a campaign. It's like if you agree to join a campaign and the DM's like, it's going to be high fantasy, pretty chill, don't worry about it, and then 6 seconds in it becomes this gritty nightmare gothic. It's like, whoa, this ain't what I signed up for.
Yeah, you didn't. This wasn't what was said.
This isn't what we agreed on.
So if I'm looking at playing 5th edition and I look at this document and I'm reading through and I'm like, oh man, it sounds like really cool to play this character. This sounds really fun.
Honestly, it sounds like I'm hiring a lawyer to come play D&D myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, not to. I mean, I've not played it, but I looked at a single page from Pathfinder 2. Oh my god, no! I don't think I could ever play Pathfinder 2.
Is it a lot?
Oh my god, it is literally like a legal document. It actually is. Casting a spell. I was looking at a spell and it was like the target hereby stipulated as whatever you were looking at by this spell, and every single thing it was like the caster hereby stipulated as the one who was casting this spell, and it's like, oh no.
No, I couldn't do that. That's a little too much for me. But if I was someone who was looking to get into 5th edition and they had this playtest material and it was like, oh, do you want to play the new Ranger? These would be the kind of questions that I would have in my head of like, okay, so if I'm using a bow and arrow, can I use a spell focus at the same time, or what's the ruling on holding things? Because it's like, well, technically a bow is, technically speaking, a one-handed weapon. It's only when I use it that it becomes two-handed. So if I have that free hand, am I allowed to use that for my spellcasting focus? And what happens if I drop it? And if you're going to add in spellcasting focus, it seems like you're just adding in something that is there to cause confusion.
Yeah.
Either that or make spellcasting focuses a specific type of weapon that does something. So then it's a case of, yes, you do need it because it carries stats with it. There is more to it than just do you or don't you have it. That would be my take on it. And then people are free to say, look, the idea of a spellcasting focus as a weapon is dumb, we're not doing that. Or someone else might say, well, look, that's how it's written down, and I've got enough to deal with here making my campaign, so we're just going to go with the rules as written. All right, so that's now, if you want to play this character, spellcasting is a thing, that's part of spellcasting, so you you're stuck with it. I'm afraid. If you don't want to do that, play a different kind of class. Go for a fighter or go for a barbarian or whatever.
Because that's why we could, let's say for again, we're big fans of having rules so that we can break them. We will literally sit there for hours and be like, I have a character I want to make. How can I twist and warp the 5e rules so that I can make this character?
Yeah.
And it's literally just like, if these things aren't defined, it's like, I want to make I want to make we literally homebrewed the Shadow Fire Druid was the sort of temporary name we came up with. I wanted to have somebody who manipulates both life energy and death energy. There isn't really a class that does that. And it's like, okay, well, let's have a look at all our spellcasters, who can heal and who can deal damage. I was playing with Sorcerer for a little bit, and it's like, well, you have to have Divine Sorcerer for healing, and it's like, it doesn't quite fit in. And then you were like, well, there's Druid, and that was when we looked at the Wildfire Druid, and it was like, well, the Wildfire Druids get healing spells, but they also get these fire spells. Well, what if these fire spells are then changed into necrotic spells? So you've literally got life magic and death magic. And we went, cool, yeah. And then we literally did like a 1-to-1 swap. Because 5e has a few of them, where it's like, okay, at 3rd level, you get Cure Wounds, and you get Firebolt or whatever. And it's like, cool, so we keep the Cure Wounds, we change Firebolt to Chill Touch. Simple 1-to-1 swap.
Yeah.
And it's because we have those handily solidified things of like stuff that's interchangeable, stuff that can work together, means that we can edit it and change it however we want.
Yeah. You don't have to redesign the game in order to fill one thing you want to do. You can just make little tweaks and you can crack on.
It's why 5e is so popular.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that Minecraft is the best-selling game of all time. Base Minecraft is kind of dull. It was what people could do with it that made it good. But people needed that foundation of, well, Minecraft is Minecraft. Gravel falls, grass grows on dirt.
Redstone doesn't work.
Yeah.
All these kind of things. You have to have that written down. Could you imagine how annoyed people would be if Redstone changed its rules during the same game? So you have a build that's working, you show someone, you come back a day later, you press the button,
hell, that happens.
It doesn't work.
Whenever there's a Minecraft update, all the mods break.
Yeah.
That's what Minecraft. You change.
Imagine base. You've got a Minecraft world. You don't update or anything, but imagine if you just came back like the next day or something, having it had been working, and then it just doesn't.
Yeah.
You'd be like, this is really annoying. And if they said to you, well, it's a game. You're supposed to have fun. Go find the problem. You'd be like, fuck you. I ain't doing that. What? What do you mean? You can't just change it on the fly for me. That's bullshit. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, because I said that there's been topics that have come up in the past, was this whole discussion about should the races...
That's me on a daily basis.
Yeah, Naren was our Redstone.
God damn it.
Naren was
Naren, the door's broken. Why? Dunno.
No, by dunno you mean you've done something, you just don't want to admit to it.
Maybe it broke the button instead of pressing it, and I put it back, and now it doesn't work. Isn't this every build that Spook makes? I built a thing, and now it doesn't work, and I don't know why.
Yes. It doesn't do what I want it to do.
Hence why coding was such a natural progression for Spook.
Yeah, so now I can share a computer screen.
I feel like this middle one is kind of the one.
I like that one, yeah. It's got character to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing about races no longer having stats tied to them. I feel like I know what the problem might be with D&D's current setup, but it's one that they would never change because it is integral to D&D.
Uh-huh.
And that is that stats are basically tied to classes.
Yes.
And that will obviously never change. But I feel like that is inherently the problem, at least for spellcasters.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a spellcaster thing.
Because if you look at, say, strength, why do you want high strength on your martial classes? Because it's tied to damage, because it's tied to your attack, and because it's tied to, like, physically overpowering enemies. Okay? That all makes sense.
I feel like the cup should not be a mug, but be a teacup. Ironically, I actually very rarely drink tea from a teacup. We don't own any. Ow!
We own a teapot. Right?
We have a teapot, yeah. Speaking of tea. Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah.
No, I think as much as it's fun, I think I'm going to go with the middle one, not the T one.
Yeah, dexterity is tied to your initiative, which is kind of like speed in a weird way.
Yeah, even though movement speed is its own thing, dexterity is also speed.
Not movement distance, like actual speed in battle. It's tied to your armor class. You know, it's a very important ability. It's tied to the most used saving throw, your dexterity saving throw, your ability to
dexterity is the god skill.
Yeah. And then constitution, obviously tied to your health, heartiness, used for recovering HP and stuff. Those are all very useful. Then you get to the other three, and you've got intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and they're basically, their only use is skills, whether or not it's your, spellcasting thing, and saving throws, and that's kind of it. Like playing a high intelligence character, there's nothing about playing a high intelligence character that actually makes you smarter.
This is true.
Because someone else could have proficiency in an intelligence-based skill, even though you are smarter than they are, and they can beat you. So your actual intelligence doesn't really play a factor. It's not dependent on like how many languages you know. It's not dependent on how many skills you know or how many spells you know or anything. It's just your intelligence is just that. It's just another skill. You only choose it if you specifically want to give those skills a kind of boost. But if you don't, it doesn't really matter. When you're playing a fighter or a barbarian or a monk or a rogue, you want your 3 physical skills to be good because those are ones that you're going to be going to more often than not. They're going to be relied upon more. And then the other ones you look at and you go, what's the one that's going to make me have to make the most saves? And I will put my, next highest one into that one, which will 9 times out of 10 be wisdom, because wisdom saving throws are all over the place.
Yeah, and it's like, constitution, because concentration checks, but...
Again, one of the 3 main physical ones. So the thought that I'd had was, if you separate your ability scores away from your magical abilities, your magical prowess, you make your magical abilities and your magical defense a separate role. Again, D&D would never do this, and I understand that D&D would never do this because it's completely... It goes against...
It goes against D&D.
Yeah, it literally says, like, right at the start of the book that anything you do in D&D is tied to one of your 6 stats. So I already know it would never happen, and I wouldn't expect them to, because that's just not how their system works. But if they tied, like, your magical offense and your magical defense to separate numbers, and then they made intelligence, wisdom, and charisma apply to different aspects of being a spellcaster, you could play a dumb wizard, or a wizard who is forgetful, but still be a powerful wizard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could be a shy warlock who's not very charismatic. They don't do a lot of talking. They don't have a very strong willpower, but they're still a warlock and they're still very powerful because it's not directly tied to that ability skill. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine, just go with me on this one. Imagine you're playing a wizard. You have to make these 2 additional rolls. So you roll to see what's my magical offense and what's my magical defense. And you make the rolls and you go, okay, I actually rolled pretty naff on my magical offense. Well, isn't that the same as just having a low intelligence? No, because every time you level up, if your magical, your magical offense can go up instead of your ability scores, but there's a limit to how good it can be, then if you've got a friend who's also playing a wizard who rolled very high on their magical offense, they can't improve theirs because theirs has already reached the maximum or gone over the limit. So you can get better at yours. They have to put their points in something else, right?
Excellent. Being mean to mention, I have stuff coming Friday to possibly start taking photos and videos of like science streaming. Jesus, okay.
Ooh.
That sounds cool. Shimmer that doesn't know how to do magic, so only uses one element, for example. That's true, though. It's true, though.
It's an example.
I haven't been trained in magic. I just know how to set things on fire.
So the thought I'd got was, if you're playing a wizard and then you've got this offense and defense, your offense being how likely you are to hit an enemy, how much you add to damage and stuff like that, whereas your defense is how much your saves are and whatnot, then you can take intelligence and you can say, if you have a high intelligence, that affects how many spells you can have prepared for the day. So being a smarter wizard means you can have more versatility. But if you are not a smart wizard, you don't lose any of your attack points. You don't lose any of your bonus damage. It just means you don't have as many spells, as many different spells prepared. But you can still have all of your cool spells with you. And then you might think, okay, well, what are the other options? And it might be, well, if you go for wisdom, maybe wisdom is linked to things like being able to react with like counterspell to spells that are being cast on you. Maybe it's linked to your concentration because it's about the way you way you react to your surroundings. So maybe you can have more concentration spells, or maybe you can have more concentration spells on the same target, in the being of like you're focusing on them, but you can also focus two things on them. But obviously, if you then fail one, you fail both. So then you might think, oh well, I might want to play a wisdom-based wizard then, as opposed to an intelligence one, because I don't necessarily need to know lots of spells. But if I know a couple of key spells in a fight, I can have those kind of sort of signature spells that I always throw out, and I can focus them on my allies. And then you can say, well, charisma can then be your force of will. So maybe you can use your charisma to, I don't know, add on to saving throws in addition to, or maybe charisma is like how many re-rolls you can make when you're subjected to something that requires a saving throw, because you have a stronger willpower than other people. You tie them to something else as opposed to strictly just the numbers of your attack and defense, and then it's more likely that people are going to want to mess about with them and change them. In the same way of, if you play a martial class, you might say, I'm going to have a higher charisma than intelligence and wisdom because I picture my fighter being a leader. It doesn't actually do anything, but that's how you imagine it in your head. Charisma is tied to people following you and listening to you, so I'm going to put my 12 in charisma. It's shit. The warlock outclasses you, the sorcerer outclasses your, charisma. So if you're saying that charisma is the leadership one, you're not the leader. But in your mind, you think, well, that is how I imagine them. I'll put it in intelligence because they're a strategist. I'll put it in wisdom because they're a guerrilla fighter. You're not actually changing them, but the way that you perceive those ability scores affecting the character, that's why you choose them. So imagine then if you do that on the spellcasting side, and you tie intelligence, wisdom, charisma to different things other than just big numbers make things go burr.
Yeah.
You're more likely to want to play, it's like if you roll up your stuff and it's like, cool, well, if I want to play a wizard, that means that I have to play a gnome so that I get my +2 from being a gnome.
Yeah.
And then I've got to put my highest into...
Which is kind of why 5e is getting rid of the stat things, because they don't want to lock people into race choices, but that's kind of like... Yes, it's a solution to the problem, but it doesn't get rid of the initial problem.
No, because the whole point is that orcs are naturally stronger, so if you play an orc, you will have, above average strength. I suppose a way you could get around it, rather than, just saying, oh, we're just going to get rid of the ability to score things altogether, you could just make it a thing of, like, if you're playing an orc, your strength cannot be below, a 10.
Yeah.
All orcs are in some way strong, even if they don't mean to be. 10 is not a high strength. So it's like, if you're playing a strong a character from a strong race, they have to be at least average strong. If you're playing a race that is naturally intelligent, then it can't be like below an 8 or something. You could do something like that. But when you just make it about just pick the numbers you want, that more incentivizes min-maxing. I'm playing a wizard, of course, so you're going to put your numbers into intelligence. Yes, because I want to be the best wizard. Because I don't want to be a detriment to my team. If you're going to give me the option of having big numbers so that we will win more, so we will succeed in fights more, I will do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to before, when it's like, well, you wanted to play an orc wizard. Fair enough. Orcs don't have a bonus to their intelligence. Are you still okay with that? Yeah, because this is the character I want to play.
It's like Ix. Ix the Barbarian literally came into existence because someone made a list and said the absolute worst race class combo that you can pick is a Barbarian Kobold because they have a negative to strength. And I literally went, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyway. And that'll make them an interesting character. You shouldn't be encouraged to say, well, you should really just put the numbers, in the stats they needed. You should put the numbers where it feels appropriate for the character.
Yeah. It's like, it's interesting. I see both views because I'm also a fan of big numbers go burr, but as I just said, it's like if 5e had the new thing that they're trying to do, like if 5e didn't have the current racial stat things, if it had always just had where you can pick whatever stats you want, then Ix wouldn't exist. I wouldn't have come up with that character, because the whole reason I came up with it was to go against the stereotype of like, cool, well, kobolds are naturally weak, I'm gonna go for the class which does not suit them.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird mix of like, I get why and I like it, but also it means that you get less of the weird stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So that would be my take on it. Tie the abilities to the way characters can do things, as opposed to specifically just tie it directly to the class. You know, you're playing a rogue, you need high dexterity. Wouldn't it be fun to be able to play a rogue that's kind of clumsy,
but still function?
Still functions as a rogue. Like, I don't know his name because I've not seen the Disney film, but The Emperor's New Groove. Who's the big guy in that sneaks around the place? Kronk.
Yeah.
Sneaks around the place all the time. You could argue that he has some degree of rogue to him, but he looks like he's kind of clumsy, and he looks like he stands out, and he's, you know, a big dude. He should be easily seen, but he can still, you know, he's still a good character. You don't need to min-max and say, well, I'm going to play a guy who's like stick thin and can hide behind, you know, a twig. And no, you don't. The character can be fun. You don't have to focus on the numbers. You can play a fun character. You can play someone who's clumsy, but is still good at sneaking, and it's the clumsiness that occasionally comes out that makes them funny. You can play the dumb wizard. It's like, well, how can you be a wizard if you're dumb? And it's like, I'm not dumb, I just forget things from time to time. I know the spell when you tell it to me, but I just couldn't remember it at the moment.
It's like, so, you know, that one,
yeah, that one.
That one, I know that one.
I can't remember exactly how it goes, and if I get it wrong, I do blow up something else. But I know roughly what it is. I know the circles that I've got to draw, you know. You can play the barbarian that isn't specifically, you know, strong.
Yeah. Like Luke, who tried to play that barbarian who didn't like raging.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That's where you get some more interesting characters and you play against stereotype.
Yeah, it's just a pull back to what we were saying earlier of we want to have rules so that we can break them.
Yes, but the rules need to be clearly defined so we understand them.
Reminds me of the rogue I made up for that campaign we had one episode of. I'm afraid I don't recall.
If it was only for one episode, then I don't remember some of the characters that I've made, and we've got character sheets in my handwriting, and I'm like, I didn't write this.
Who's Andrew Johnson?
Who the hell is Andrew Johnson? So yeah, that was my take when they started saying, oh, we're just going to take all of the sort of racial components of a race away from them. And it's like, well, at that point, what's the point?
Yeah, we still get racial abilities.
You still get racial abilities, but...
I get what you're saying.
You know.
I'm very on the fence about it, I'm afraid, which I know is a bit wishy-washy, but I'm very on the fence about it.
It's not that you're on the fence, it's that you can see that there is a problem, you just don't know what the solution is.
Yeah.
It's a better way of describing it. Like, you get it because you can see both points, and it's like, well, if both sides have good points, then that means that there is a solution that has yet to be achieved, in which both of these things can, you know, be right. But that would be my take on it. Separate the numbers, and like how they're now making proficiency more of a relevant stat. You know, your proficiency determines how good that's basically your class number, how good your class is. You know, if you're playing a particular, you know, a not as strong fighter, it's like, well, you get to add this number on because you're good at your class. So that gives you a good number that is always good. That's all you're doing, is you're taking your class and you're turning it into different stats, as opposed to these strength, dex, con into his charisma.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's almost exactly what you refer to, you know, is in having an offensive magic skill. It's essentially just a class number.
Yeah, basically.
A female human rogue who was meant to be closer to an engineer / rogue / trapsmith.
Yeah, so playing a rogue that is, you know, it's not about, oh, I'm sneaky and I'm, you know, really bendy and I can fold myself into a pretzel and I carry more knives than have ever been produced. It's like, no, you're a rogue because you know how to think like a rogue. I know what traps to look for. The reason I don't get caught in traps isn't because I'm good at avoiding traps, it's because I'm good at knowing where they are and disarming them. Yeah, I make them. I understand. You know, I'm basically a locksmith. I don't need to be, you know, skinny and stealthy and wear lots of black and stuff. The reason I get in and I get out is because I know what the fuck I'm looking for. You know, that's an interesting thing. You present that to someone and say, this is the rogue I'm going to play. And it's like, damn, someone put some thought into this character. All right, I'm on board with this. Cohen the Barbarian.
Yeah?
Is he a big buff dude? No,
Nope.
He's a skinny old man with no teeth. but he's the greatest barbarian on the Discworld.
Close your eyes, this might get messy. How did you do that? Just an old hat of it, ain't I?
Exactly. Clearly, he's got good enough technique that he knows how to beat the hell out of people. He doesn't need to be the size of an inverted triangle in order to do it. That makes them interesting characters. That makes them fun. You know, your class stat is what makes you good at your class. How do your actual stats? How do you fit into your class's dynamic? I prefer that. Yeah, like that. There's your barbarian. Also, Stampy.
I are barbarian. Shape design.
So those were the thoughts that I was having while I was at work, thinking and mulling this over as to, what are my opinions? How do I feel about
That's Spook's 2 cents on 5e.
Yes.
That was an interesting little discussion. We went on for almost an hour and a half.
I can get talking about D&D when I need to.
Yeah.
Mainly about homebrew. I love talking about D&D homebrew. I love messing with rules.
Oh, yeah.
More so, I think, than playing.
That's evident. You haven't played for about 3 years. You've run out of steam now, haven't you? There's now that sort of awkward silence of like, oof.
Told you we should have done this stream as a...
Yes, hello, I am Barbar.
Told you we should have done this one specifically about D&D.
I've enjoyed working on my picture though. You've not done a lot of coding, but you've done the bulk of the talking.
I can't focus on that and talk at the same
That's
time.
valid. That's valid.
Trying to understand how to move stuff around in Unity and learn a new language and stuff and host. I can't.
That's fine.
Not happening. Not happening. I'll work a little bit more on this tomorrow. Just trying to think in like the fourth dimension when it comes to Unity and stuff. Got to try and break the habit of thinking things laterally in terms of like, oh well, I need to make the game board, but the game board changes, so I need to separate all the game board pieces. And it's like, nope, that's not how you have to do it in terms of a computer game. You just need to tell the computer the numbers that are important to remember. That is it.
Yep.
So.
Wow. Hi. Hello, child. It's only 10:30. Wait, I say only 10:30. That means we're going to finish in half an hour. We've almost gone for the entirety of the stream. Baby's upset because she's like, Father, you're supposed to go to bed and I'm supposed to have a hug.
No hug for you.
No!
Hug denied.
Ow. Ow.
We've been having a lot of fun with our Pokemon Coliseum series, haven't we?
This is true, yes. I'm trying to edit it up, but I've not made a lot of headway on it. But now that we have a schedule that has designated days to do it on, it might happen a bit more rapidly now, which is good.
We'll have to see if you can add in a few more video editing things, like on your calendar in the morning, like doing an hour or something.
Yeah, so I may not schedule it in, but in these free time bits, if you're not home and at work, then I may end up just doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But it'll be if I feel like doing it.
Yeah. I think people will get a kick out of it, just us like talking crap.
It really is just us talking crap. Absolute bollocks.
Are there any games that you're looking forward to, or have you not really got any new games on the horizon?
The only new game I have that is on my radar is Pokemon, which it's not like I'm going to stream it or anything. I don't have anything to stream the Switch or anything, but I'm very much looking forward to it. It's looking good. I'm excited for the multiplayer, especially because I've got a lot of people to multiplayer with. Everybody in the Discord is planning on getting it basically, so there's going to be a lot of people playing it. Do you and Spook have Xbox Game Pass? No, we do not.
I got an Xbox 360, but I'm now realizing that that's now 2 generations old.
Yes, it is.
Slightly
To be fair,
depressing.
Xbox Game Pass, if I'm not wrong, does work on PC. Because obviously, Microsoft.
Right.
You'll have to confirm or deny that for me. Because I think Kay's got Game Pass. Ow, I know. It's on PC, yeah.
I'm very easily pleased, though. I can play games from 1996 and be happy.
This is true. I mean, literally mentioning Spyro to your mum tonight has made me want to play Spyro for like the 50th time. Yeah. I believe it's one of those things where if you are very into modern games, if you're the kind of person who like always likes to play the new thing, then an Xbox Game Pass is like 100% worth it.
Yeah.
Can you hear this very upset child?
Well, the 3 current games that me and Stanji are looking for, because Stanji's kind of the only person I play with anymore, because the only person who's around. You lot are all playing your freaking MMOs.
Like MMOs, bruh.
Stanji's really looking forward to Victoria 3, which is a game set around the Victorian times. And this one has a heavy focus on diplomacy. Other than that,
Oh,
I
interesting.
don't really know a lot about it, but Stanji's really looking forward to it. So it'll be fun to play a game that he's more enthusiastic about than I am. Because normally whenever I ask him for a game, it's always like, what do you want to play? And he's like, I don't know, you choose. Whereas now he's actually going to be like, I want to play Victoria, so that'll be quite fun. I'm looking forward to the new Humankind DLC that's going to be coming out.
Yes. And what's the other one? Was it Company of Heroes one that you two were talking about?
Yes, Company of Heroes 3 sadly got delayed.
Oh, that's a shame.
To make the game better, but it was delayed till next year.
I was going to say there's a game on there that is like overcooked. It's a space travel airline.
Huh.
Interesting.
Ooh, and I'm also looking forward to playing Endless Legend with Kels
Hey!
at some point.
Yeah, that should be good.
Because I really like that game.
Yeah, well, that's not a game that's coming out, that's just something people look forward to doing. Like, I want to get on Guild Wars like core because the Halloween event literally started today. They've started the Halloween event, so I need to go visit the Mad King and go kick him in the jeans.
Oh, Kels has apparently been playing. She's got a few new achievements.
Just some achievos. Yeah, in terms of new things, I can't think of any new games that have piqued my interest. I guess eventually at some point, maybe next year, we may see an announcement for whatever the next Monster Hunter could be.
So,
Given the cycle of things, like it'll probably be announced. It won't come out, but it might get announced next year and then maybe released the following year. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know if I could do another Monster Hunter game.
No.
I don't know, it depends on. It would have to be something really different, but like.
Yeah, I think to go for this is just me absolutely guessing, but my thought is that if they do announce a Monster Hunter game next year to release the following year, it would have to be World 2.
Yeah.
Because World had a different dev team to Rise, which is why Rise came out a couple of years after World. So I'm guessing, given how crazily successful World was for Capcom, they've got to have that team working on World 2. Or whatever they call it.
Because I look at that, I had over 800 hours put into Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter Rise, 270.
270, yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's new stuff coming out. There's like, every Friday there's stuff coming out. It's like, yeah, okay, I mean, I'll
play it, but that's it. We'll play for an hour, and then we'll have done it, and then we'll log off again.
Yeah, the grind in it, I'm not feeling it this time. In World, the grind was for the better equipment. Now the grind is for like, it's for better equipment, but it's more so than just, go and gather like these 3 parts from this monster, which you can probably do in a hunt or 2. It's now like, go and hunt this monster a dozen times in the hopes that you'll get enough to upgrade your thing.
Yeah, this new afflicted thing where it's like, you need, as soon as we unlocked the afflicted weapons, it was like, cool, so you need to upgrade these, like, 3 weapons all need afflicted pelts. They all need 7, so you need, what's that, 21?
21.
You need 21 afflicted pelts. How many do you get in a hunt? 3, 4 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, just to upgrade 3 weapons, I have
and
to.
then
I have to do
you can augment them, which uses
more
the same
materials.
ingredients, but again, more of them.
But more of them, so you gotta hunt more, and it's like, okay, that's grindy, but that's a really, really grindy. Ooh boy. Thing is that we didn't even really get to the major grind in Iceborne, because I believe Iceborne's major grind is stuff that Safi'jiiva drops. We haven't even beaten Safi'jiiva.
No.
But we still got a lot out of that game.
We got a lot out of that game, but
I was pretty happy with my endgame armor.
I don't know whether we'd have carried on playing World if Rise hadn't come out.
Yeah,
I don't know how much longer. We probably would have gone and done all of the endgame things of like beat Safi, beat Fatalis, beat Electrion, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if we would have done like we did with Behemoth, where it's like we're looking forward to do reruns. Because we did like fighting Behemoth.
Yeah.
We liked getting the strategy.
Yeah, because that was. But God, doing Behemoth was so good. So good. I guess the thing is as well is that it's that weird thing of like, because Fatalis is the last monster in the game, it's like, well, for us, we're kind of like, the check mark done it kind of thing. So we probably wouldn't farm up Fatalis's armor, because it's like, well, what are we hunting after Fatalis? Well, nothing, because we've hunted everything.
Yeah, we'd only do it again if someone else was like, oh, I want to do Fatalis as well, and we'd be like, oh, okay, we'll show you the fight because it's fun, but we wouldn't beat it and then be like, let's do that again, be like, we got it.
Given how long it took a lot of people to do, it would, literally be like, okay, here's our 10th attempt at trying Fatalis. Holy shit, we did it. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. We're done.
It does irk me that you're not using a fill for that.
It's because the fill is not perfect. I would have to go up to the edges and do it anyway. Feels like I try the select. How perfect it is. Because you get shit like this.
It's dumb.
It's very dumb, isn't it?
I'm always around for Game Spook, just need to pop me a message so I know. Fair enough. I'm sure I remember that. The thing is, at the moment, I've been feeling more.
You're becoming a bit of a recluse, darling.
Yeah, I am. I really deny it. Because when I'm around in the morning, I don't really want to play with people. I just do
you're waking up. You've got half an hour to kill before you have to go to work. So, the problem is that a lot of the games that you're playing at the moment are strategy games, and they're not quick. No,
they're not quick. They're games you play over long periods of time, and up until Carl's announced it, the only person who was really interested in strategy games was Stanjay. So he's kind of the go-to partner. Cora's also down for games as well.
Down for playing whatever, usually. Yeah.
That should be something that you could add to your calendar. You could have like a games night of get together and play.
I don't want to have every single waking moment of my calendar filled. It doesn't leave any space for spontaneity.
No, I know, but
it's something that we could do on Fridays.
Yeah,
you could
alternate Fridays out. If I'm too tired, you could have just play like Overcooked or
our little Friday slot that I've written down of you and me play games could alternate between you and me when you haven't got work, and when you have got work, it can just be like the gang. The squad. I watched a streamer play Worms the other day, and I was just there vibing, and I was like, man, this is very fun. They were playing WMD, which I don't think I ever played. And the dude pulled out like a drill boat, and I was like, what is that?
Me and Narrowing did play that one at one point. I think we did enjoy it, but it wasn't quite the same, I don't think, as like Clan Wars. No, there was just something about it where we were like, this is fun. We're having a good fun time, but the times that we played Clan Wars, like, oh my days, just with the voice packs and it was, that was just.
I will say I did quietly chuckle to myself when I was watching this stream, and someone pulled out a rope, because I was immediately just like, oh, here comes Spook with his bloody rope.
Though I am apprehensive to play strategy with Stongles after the last time we played Civ. I didn't realise you'd played Civ. I haven't actually played Civ, like Civ 4 or 5 or 6. I played Civilization Revolution, which was a game that came out on the Xbox, so it was obviously a dumbed down version of what PC is capable of. But I did really enjoy that, and from there I've played a lot of Civilization-like games such as Humankind, Endless Legend, Sid Meier's New World or something. There was another, not Civilization, but he made like a space version of a hex game. But played quite a few of them, and they're good fun. I can definitely attest for Humankind, really good game, and it's gonna be getting a lot of improvements because they're putting heart and soul into making it a real Civ killer, and I think it's got potential. It's good.
Yeah, you really like Humankind. You see you playing it a lot.
It's very fun. But I do also like Endless Legend because that game's actually like finished. They've made all the changes and added all the DLC that they're ever going to change and add to it. And it's a quest-based hex crawler. It's not a hex crawler.
I don't know what you're asking me. This is not my area of expertise.
It's just a hex.
Really not a strategy game kind of person, really. So.
No, but if you were to play strategy games, that would be the one that you would go to because you like kills, you like story. And that is a strategy game that is based around one of the victory, like one of the ways you can win the game is to finish your story. So you don't even have to be the best empire. Yeah. If you finish your story, you win. Yeah. So it's
a bit like Armello, because when we play Armello, I can't help but just aim to get the quests done, which is probably why I very rarely win. Because my brain is just like, well, you got to do the quests.
Played Civ with you and Stongles for the first time playing, and he just found me and stopped me while I was figuring out how to play.
Whoops.
That must have been a long time ago because I don't actually remember playing Civ with Stanji. That must have been like Civ 4 or something. It must have been a while ago. Actually got any hours on?
Check your Steam library.
I've got 61.6 hours on Civ 5. So it might have been that one. Was that the one that I was just learning?
For Civ, that's got to be one game.
It might have been that one.
That's barely one game.
that seriously must have been a long time ago because I don't.
When does it say last played?
November
2019.
But I think that was me playing the tutorial. I don't think that was the actual game.
Well, yeah, let's say 61 hours is barely one game. Civ games go on for freaking ever. It was a very long time ago. So I'm going to throw it out there right now, even though we've got this new stream schedule. In literally a month's time today, being the 18th, in a month's time, when Pokemon comes out, I ain't streaming, okay? I am sitting down and I am playing Pokemon, okay?
You're not going to stream your first experiences with the game?
I have no way to do it. I can't stream from a Switch.
Not yet. You've got a month. I'll be able to get you something.
I don't know if there's enough space on this desk to put in a Switch dock, because I believe that's how you do it. Is you put the Switch in a dock, because that's how you get the output. You get the output from the Switch dock, put it into a converter, and then put that into the computer. So I'd have to have the dock like sat here. It's possible because Nemo does it. Because Nemo stream Legends Arceus. It's possible, but we'd have to like buy something, and we're trying not to spend money.
I'll have a look into it because.
It wouldn't be stream exclusive because it'd be like, okay, here's Friday's stream, I'm gonna play Pokemon. Saturday we don't stream, I'm still playing Pokemon.
Last time you played was 2004. I feel like I wasn't involved in that game then. Because in 2004, I had just left school.
You've got to mean 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
That's gotta be 2014, not 4.
2004.
We didn't know you in 2004.
Sorry, 2004 I was 12.
Yeah, we didn't know you in 2004.
But yeah, might have been one of the other.
It might have been someone else.
Because I know Stanji used to play with.
Could have been Orkai.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. When Victoria comes out, apparently I'm playing with Orkai. So that's.
Oh yeah, bring it back, the old Shabuzi crew.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, so it's going to be me, Stanji, Orkai, Omzit, maybe Frost. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him.
Holy hell, bringing back all the gang.
Well, Stanji still does speak to them.
That's true.
He's still on their server. I just have no reason.
I assume they have their own server because, as far as I know, they actually don't use because there isn't a Shibuzi server, quote unquote, anymore. Jesse has his own server, but I've never seen them in there.
No,
So
it's on the Coxcon one.
It was the Coxcon one, right?
Yeah, I think
Well, the Coxcon server isn't really for Coxcon anymore because Coxcon itself isn't really happening anymore.
Still waiting for Endless Dungeon to be announced because me and you had fun playing Dungeon of the Endless. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't get into Dungeon of the Endless as much, but it's a fun game. It's a unique concept of like a dungeon crawl. Like, you know, you open up different rooms and enemies come and attack you, and then you move on. But it keeps the FIDS system, which is what they call it, food industry. FIMS, sorry, food industry money science, FIMS, which is the 4 main parts of the strategy game.
I'm just gonna have to use temporary fonts for now because I've a job that I've like had needed to do and like put off for ages is I've got to find like a replacement font because the font that I use for all of my like technical screens and stuff has vanished from the ether. I no longer have it and I cannot find it on the internet, so basically I need to pick a different font that I use for all of my stuff, basically.
So make one.
Oh god, no. My handwriting's awful.
Yeah, but you'd be drawing each of the letters. So does that count?
I guess on a technicality.
So the new Pokemon's Scarlet and Violet.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting Violet?
Currently leaning towards Scarlet. I haven't made a full decision yet.
I thought Curls will be getting Scarlet.
She is. Core's getting Violet though, and I think Das is getting Violet. And Kay, I think, is also going to be getting a version. There's about six, that's what I say. About 6 of us are all planning to get Pokemon this time around. So you know, the only thing that we have to worry about technically is which legendary do you like, because all the other version exclusives we've got somebody to trade for them. So that's it, and I guess technically I like Koraidon a little bit more than Miraidon. So.
No, there's been no word on Factorio DLC yet, not since their last post. So, still waiting on that one, and you'll definitely hear from us because also want to play that.
They'll let you know very quickly when that happens.
Also noticed recently, not heard a lot from Risk of Rain.
That's true. Actually.
They've not put forward a what do they call it? A roadmap for this year or when the next activity is going to be. I've checked on Steam, I've checked on their website. It's been kind of radio silent, so I'm wondering if something's happened. If
Maybe.
they've gone dark or something. But
there's a lot of shit happening in the world at the moment. You never know. Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know, where's the devs based? That could have had an effect on them.
Honestly, don't know. I don't know if I ever looked into where Hopu Games is based. Texas.
Oh, we're based in the United States, apparently.
There you go. Narrow him. Go give him a kick.
Narrow him can go to Hopu Games and give him a kick up the butt. Puppy plushie!
Oh yeah, sorry. Obviously the thing that Core posted. I know about that. That's why it made me think about it. Yeah, they posted up that they've now got a store and they've got the plushie and a couple of shirts and stuff, but there was nothing about the game.
Yeah.
Which was what.
I suppose it's worth saying here since I'm on their Twitter and it says so. Anybody who's interested in pre-ordering the Acrid plushie, apparently the pre-orders for those close tomorrow. It says on the Twitter.
Ooh, excuse me.
Yeah. Quick reminder that once the Acrid pre-orders are closed on Wednesday the 19th, it will be taken off sale, never to return. If you haven't already secured yours, go to this link. So anybody who wants a puppy, you should go pre-order one. Oh wow, they did a post saying we were not expecting the Plusies to sell out in 30 minutes due to overwhelming demand. We have decided to open up pre-orders for another batch. So they immediately sold out. That's pretty funny. But who doesn't like the puppy? He's my favourite. Look at that baby. Original run sold out in 30 minutes. Wow. I wonder how many they had made. Can't give a delivery estimate right now as they need to be freshly made. That's fair.
The chef is going to be announced. That was in the one from...
The last one.
That was back in May when they announced it, so obviously they're going to be working on getting him integrated into it, but there's been no roadmap as to like what the next DLC is going to be, which is a shame.
Yeah, let me just drive 15 hours down to Texas. God, America's just too big. You know, it's too big. Who allowed this? It's too big. Why can't you split up into smaller continents like a sensible country?
Country of Texas, that sounds cursed.
It's big enough to be, is the thing. You think... I think you people allowed this. We definitely didn't allow it.
No, you very definitely had a war to prevent us from having anything to do with it.
Yeah.
It's your own fault.
You can't push the blame on us. We tried to stop it.
This is why your allowance was cut off, and this is what happens. Oh, look who's back with a brand new act.
Hey.
Oh, that was my ankle.
Oh, God, we're both falling apart. We put a little border effect on it, so that it looks like a sticker.
Hey.
Print it out and stick it on the fridge.
Or just go to a con and stick it on people's bags without them looking.
I'm pretty sure people do things like that is the thing. Oh, but I could actually do that, you know. If I went to Confuzzled next year, I could actually legitimately take these. That is the thing I could legitimately do if I went to a furry convention. I'm gonna change the font though. But I've got a, you guys can't see it because I haven't got it selected even if I dragged it across, but I've got a folder filled with like a short list of 5 fonts that I found which were similar to the sort of original one that I had, which is in being sort of like clear to read but has a sort of like sketchiness to them in a way. So I'll get them loaded in and basically cycle through them because I downloaded them but then didn't do anything with them. I think maybe that one's a little too blocky. But yeah, because the other ones do not exist anymore. They vanished into the ether.
More stuff for Discord Nitro.
Discord Game Nitro uses a bunch of games and YouTube watch party thing for use in voice chat. Oh, fair enough. Not something I've ever used, but I know quite a few people do. I love this feature that Clip Studio Paint has, the border feature. Even if I draw on the layer, it adds in the white border. If I add to it, it like fills it in. That is like literally perfect for making stickers.
Well, it's 11 o'clock.
It's 11 o'clock, so it's officially time to end the stream. There we go. That's kind of close to being done. There's a few bits I'm going to edit. I'm not quite happy with the eye and I need to taper off the edges, but that's fine. It's close enough. I'll work on that on another day. Yeah. I'm sorry, Silent. You came too late. We've been here for 2 hours. been here for 2 hours. Don't worry, it's fine, because I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, okay? It's on the schedule.
Ah, yes.
It's on the schedule. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. 2 o'clock in the after... Ow! Don't throw a temper tantrum. That's on you. Oh, no, wait. That was Gelatinous Friend. I apologise, Sally.
You know.
Stop throwing things at me! I was watching the whole time. Hey, thank you. But yeah, there's going to be another stream tomorrow, and I'm going to be working on your stickers tomorrow, because that's the time that's designated for. So I better be seeing you tomorrow, or I'll be continuing to work on your stickers. So approximately 2 o'clock UK time, which is going to be like 3 o'clock your time? I can't quite remember which time zone you're in. I want to say 3 o'clock. Yeah. I'll be going for probably another 2 or 3 hours.
So about 15 hours from now.
Approximately, yeah. I keep looking over because that's where my schedule is stuck on the wall. Yeah, 3 o'clock your time. I did remember. Yeah. So I'll be doing artwork then. I'll be starting at 2, finishing at about 5. I'll be stopping for a couple of hours to have dinner and, maybe actually chill for a little bit. And then I'll be streaming again. Tomorrow is a double stream day. We got D&D in the evening. As we got a freaking ancient red dragon to kill. I'm sure that's going to be fine. Oh, boy. So, yeah, tomorrow's going to be a busy day. And, we got to make sure we go do stuff. I think we need to go food shopping. So, tomorrow's going to be so full. I'm going to be very tired. Oh, boy. Thursday we've penciled in some MMO playing. I want to play Guild Wars because the Halloween event has started, so we can look forward to that. Friday, we're going to be playing some games together. We haven't decided what it is we're going to be playing, so I guess you'll just have to come and find out what we're playing. You can see the schedule down below in the non-schedule page. Brand new schedule this week, and we're doing really well in following it so far. Hell yeah. And then the last day of this week would be Pokemon Sunday. We have Saturday off, and Sunday's basically a day off. Pokemon, I like Pokemon. It's Pokemon. Yeah. Okay, that's my very long-winded signing off that I do at the end of all of my streams. Cool. Me and Spook are gonna go to bed. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. We've had a really lovely evening. I've actually really liked having you here. It's been very nice. We had a really nice talk about D&D, which we haven't done in a really long time.
Now I'll be relegated back to
Congratulations, you are back to being husband. It's apparently a downgrade. You'll be co-host again on Friday. It's fine.
No, that's my normal slot now.
That's your slot. Congratulations, you have a slot. Yay! Designated date night. The face it's making. Oh boy. Okay. Right. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sleep. Thank you all so much, everybody. Let's turn the music off. Right. See you soon. Catch you tomorrow. Love you all. Bye-bye.